Hello, and welcome to the 17th podcast of Orthodoxy Transforming Spirituality series. In the last podcast, we looked at gratitude that flows from remembering that nothing is as it seems. This second great spiritual truth widens our vision, opens our eyes to the truth in front of us, and banishes selfishness and self-centeredness. When we realize how dependent we are on everyone and everything around us, we can't help but experience humility and the sweet emotion of gratitude. Now, let's look at another benefit of these two truths that we have learned. And what are those truths we have learned so far? Let's rehearse them. 1, everything has a beginning and an end. 2, nothing is as it seems. These two truths, so fundamental and self-evident, have wide implications for the spiritual life. And they are available to everyone. They are part of universal spirituality. In fact, they are reality. They are obvious. You don't need any revelation from anyone to know that these two truths are foundational to what we see and who we are. But they will change your life if you remember them and believe them and retrain your brain through meditation to remember them. Let's look at another great benefit of the truth that everything has a beginning and an end. Knowing this, remembering this, and accepting this, believing this, will bring into your life a beautiful new perspective. When you realize and accept that everything has a beginning and an end, you will have to admit that you yourself have had a beginning and will have an end. When you quit fighting that truth, you will open your eyes to the wonder of immediacy, right nowness. Our time is limited. There is no reason or value in wasting our time. Time is short, life is short. Time wasters are blinded to the simple truth that they have an end coming as surely as the sun will rise on us like it did on the Egyptians and the Mayans. Most people cannot take this truth. They turn their eyes from it. They choose the darkness because they cannot bear the light of truth. It's too painful for some people. It's too frightening. Most people spend most of their lives trying to forget it or get out of it somehow. Death, they think, happens to everyone else, not them, at least not now. So they live a life either dwelling in the past, which cannot be repeated or erased, or they dwell in the future, trying to prepare for what doesn't exist. And by dwelling in the past and the future, they forget the now, which is the only time any of us really have. On the spiritual path, we experience the boon of immediacy. Now. Right now is the time for everything. If you have goals, now is the time. Concentrate on the now and put your whole heart into it. Throw yourself into the now, and you will not believe how your next nows will be. Now is the time to take these truths to heart and begin retraining your brain to accept and remember the obvious. Now is the time. You don't have time to meditate an hour a day. You don't have time to put on headphones and get some calm music and meditate. If you don't have the time, ask yourself, what am I doing with my now that is so important that I cannot follow a spiritual path that will only bring me joy and peace and make my life richer for myself and others? Quit right now spending so much time in the past and the future, and you will have plenty of now to work with now. When we experience immediacy, we are able to do two things: set priorities and remember that we are temporary, and so we don't take ourselves too seriously. We all make priorities. Some of them are frivolous. They don't amount to much. Many hours are spent talking about nothing. Think how many hours are frittered away by nonsensical speech that usually leads to no good. How many conversations have you had that did not end up bashing someone else or calling them into question somehow? Think of the cruel speech that comes from incessant talking. And we do it all under the cover of, I'm going to tell you, but don't tell this to another soul. We waste time because we fail to remember that we are temporary. We fail to make time to appreciate what we have, where we are, and the wonders all around us at all times. We strive to make things better for ourselves when they really, right now, honestly, can't get any better. They are the best they can, given the circumstances that have led us to where we are now. We can certainly seek to change our circumstances, but that is very difficult to do unless we appreciate the now and have gratitude for where we are right now. We will speak more about the way things are and why things are the way they are in the next podcast. But for right now, appreciate where you are and set priorities to stay on the spiritual path that you have started. Gratitude is a powerful force for change. It's an A-bomb for change, positive and productive change. When we remember immediacy, that everything has a beginning and an end, including ourselves, we relax. You know, the world got along fine without us, and it will continue fine without us when we're gone. We might be remembered a day or two by our acquaintances, a week by our friends, a month by our families, and a year by those closest to us. But finally, they will walk by a stone and say, "I wonder who that was. I wonder what they were like." Most people take themselves way too seriously. We imagine the world would collapse if we weren't in it. We boost ourselves into thinking that we fill a unique gap in the universe and that, well, the world would just fall apart if we don't fill our place with our indispensable and undeniably magnificent contributions. But life goes on for everyone, even when we step out of the picture. Life flows, and when the flow goes over a rock, it might remember the rock for a while, but the flow goes on to new rocks, new horizons, new vistas, and heads for the lake, the river, or the ocean. This remembering of immediacy, or our temporariness, should not diminish us or leave us depressed. Instead, it allows us to remember that we need to be very careful with our priorities and smile at our own overblown sense of importance. Spirituality is the number one priority for happiness. And not taking ourselves so seriously allows us to smile indulgently at ourselves. In the next podcast, we will examine why are things the way they are, and how did my life get this way? And we will find the third, ultimately valuable truth. So stay with us, smile, and listen.